Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
It's the sell. And then he mentioned, just like the kid here that we watched right before, it's there for the taking. And so...
Yeah, it is.
And not even sales.
But it's been there for the taking since Rockefeller. When Rockefeller controlled 98% of the oil business in the United States, he controlled almost 100% of government contracts. Almost 100.
And I also wanted to say, it's like specifically in that order, not sell, take, but take, sell.
Yeah, and they had to change some of the things they believed culturally. Number one, all the relatives. Number two, their former disdain for government contracts, which had no basis whatsoever, and then the big time law firm that charges 4 or 5 times more than their old law firms, but there's as he said, there's a prestige that comes along with those people, and when Freshfields used to be my lawyers, they still are my lawyers. We represent the Queen of England, the Bank of England, the Church of England, and Dan Peña. That's got a lot of gravitas. And as opposed to what your lawyers might say about you, if they even know that they represent you. And the more deals that you get, the more deals these big established, prestigious firms will lift their kimono up and bring deals to you. And we have several of the guys now that they've had to expand their base operation. And that's what Raymond's really doing. He's got infrastructure so he can take 10 times as much contracts. But he's putting the infrastructure in first. I wouldn't do it that way. I would wait till I got the fucking business, then I'd put in the infrastructure. But he is gearing up to have $1 billion top line minimum in government contracts. And he's already got the guys and the gals in place. Because it's easily possible. I mean, it's just Boeing must, I don't know, they do $300 billion a year, whatever it is. 15% of that $50 billion is, more or less, is going to the little mooch like you. And then Boeing is, there's, I don't know how many companies are in the Fortune 500, but they're all doing, and they're in the Fortune 50. And then there's the companies here, the companies in Germany, the same in Japan. Just remember, who was it that mentioned $900 trillion in worldwide GDP, even though he didn't know it was GDP. 15% of the $900 trillion is what? That's government contracts. That's a lot of fucking money. All for the taking. Now their approach, is not as demure as Peter's, and it's more aggressive than the Viking bitch, and it's more aggressive than Roberto. And the part of that's the Cuban personality on the older brother, and Jason's I think 42, and Tony's 46 or 47. And they're a known, now, for sure they're a known commodity. Easy. And I mentioned it the first day, when our daughter went through the seminar, she was 12. At the end of the day, she says, easy peasy, Daddy. She understood. Of course, she had been listening to the QLA since she was 6 or 8 or whatever the time frame. And she says, all you got to do is make the calls. That's easy for a 12-year-old to say, who had never made a call. But, and that's it. So whatever the hardest thing, and that which most of you in this room already know what it is, because you haven't done it so far, or you've done it poorly so far, and just forget everything else and do that first, because it's not going to get any easier. It's not going to get any easier, whatever that is. And that's why I told you earlier, that's why I moved here. And I took a lot of fucking flack. I still take flack. Especially since I don't go to funerals or weddings anymore. So what else is there? Nothing. If you don't go to funerals and weddings, and you live 7,000 miles away, there's nothing. And I like it just fine that way. Okay, any questions about the Goombas? And we're going to go through, I'm going to answer your question. Yes, sir.
I was just curious. They also mentioned Black Beauty. Did they go to the hardcore with her too?
Yeah.
Were all these? It seems like a lot of these mentees were all in the same class. Or
I must have been hot.
yeah.
And we've checked with. I'm not shitting you. Has our water supply changed? I mean, we've looked at all that data, and we just had a bunch of people. The one that Kim went through. Was a great class, Josh. The one that when you listen to Thomas next, his was a great class. But I mean, it's all the hardcore have been terrific. But some have been, like the Japanese guy or the Japanese guy for the Dodgers. Who's the stalwart pillar of their offense and defense, and he pitches and he does this. I think he's supposed to be a world-class karaoke singer. On top of it all, which doesn't mean shit, but not to me it doesn't. And he's increased 7 or 8% tourism from Japan to Los Angeles. So I mean. Yeah, but I mean, the hardcore is the deal. Like he would that explain where they pulled $600,000 or $700,000 out. That deal that he explains. You drill down into that. How did he do it? And we look and the paperwork but you don't need that. I mean, there's a lot of success, and I'm not trying to unsell the hardcore, but we've got guys that in prison. So, for those of you that are closer to being the Renaissance men, or raconteurs bon vivants, then, but I mean, we got ditch diggers that their only recourse is hitting the guy in the head with a shovel. And we've got at least one or two of you in the audience. But the bottom line is, they did what was the least comfortable. The job here is for me to get you used to being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Some of you I'm more successful than others, and that's all dependent on how much baggage you have. And but at the hardcore, we get down to the nitty gritty. I mean, and with live examples, and you get up and make presentations to the group, and the group, rips your ass apart because and it becomes obvious for the deals that you're doing yourself that you're involved with your family, how you didn't make hard decisions. And I'm going to wait until she gets out of school. It's not going to get any easier. Your children are not going to be any better when they get out of school. Trust me. I got a lot of, in fact, in some cases, depending where they go to school and who they hook up with, it'll be worse. Yes, sir.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. The Goomba brothers.
The Goombas.
They start getting government.
And they're Spanish, by the way. And though their Spanish sounds a little different. I mean, it's got a Cuban, I don't know, a drawl or what the fuck it is, but it sounds different. And when we talk, and I can't speak Spanish, but some of the Cuban words, even though they're the same words, just to make a clarification. Now ask me.
Okay, so to clarify, they start out getting government contracts. Correct?
No, they didn't start that way.
Oh no, they did real estate first. They did real estate.
They were cutting the county's lawns at parks without a government contract. And then who cuts all the lawns in Dade County? Well, it goes up for bid twice a year. Ah, really? And then that's how it happened. Go ahead.
Okay, so they start doing they get government contracts. They start serving them, like let's say
And performing.
landscaping and performing, and they get more and they get more, and then all of a sudden they start adding acquisitions.
Well, no, stop. And then they got contracts for, maintenance of buildings, from light bulbs to toilet paper, and then security for buildings. And the governments and counties and municipalities have a lot of fucking buildings. And then they're servicing more and more and more. Now they're the biggest servicer and provider in Southern Florida. Okay, now continue.
So an example will be, you know what? This building needs security.
Airports. They do
Okay.
all the airports.
Okay, so they need security. You go, you get the contract. Obviously, you have a security company that knows how to do it. You make your spread right there, right? And then once in a while, a company says, you know what? This owner's going to pass out. You take over and do an acquisition. You keep-
Succession.
Succession, exactly.
And when they heard that word, and of course, because they were already more or less there, the dots jumped at each other. Some of you got to drag you got to open the synapses, and then, they slowly but surely you drag them there. And then when they started looking at, not just them, and when they started looking at what are the most profitable deals we do with governments. It doesn't take a genius to figure this out. Where are the highest margins? Governments. County, city, municipal, etc. And the largest margins are the bigger the entity, like Black Beauty is about, I guess she already signed a big contract with the state of Texas for medical billing. Over 10 years, it's if I remember correctly, 23 billion over 10 years. That's a lot of fucking, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So with that, she went out, she bought the medical billing thinking she was going to do government contracts, or she
Yeah,
just...
no. She went to, she started in home health.
Okay.
And she, down the rabbit hole,
And it just...
and she's good looking, dumped her husband. That was an easy choice for her. She said, don't worry, that's not one of the hard things for me, Mr. Peña. That won't be hard for me. That'll be easy for me. Okay? And then she saw the billing, which I said billing is big margins. And at that time, I had just exited a billing company. So I knew more about it because I had money in my hand. And she asked me something to the effect, are there anybody doing billing in Texas? Obviously there are. I don't know them, though. You're black, it'd be better if you had one tit from the Vietnam War, but you'll do. You're fucking black. And so, although we have had blacks here that say they're not black, I could give a whole seminar on that. But we've had that. But, who am I to say, if he says he's not black, fuck him. I don't give a shit if he's not black. And then she saw billing, and she got a Dallas-Fort Worth contract first, and then that helped her get a Houston contract, if I remember, and then she got a DFW, the airport, and then it spreads. And once you get on the gravy train, they would rather give it to you because you perform. Because a lot of people that apply for these contracts don't perform. And I haven't had any of those since the 90s that I'm aware of. Okay? And I haven't had anybody blacklisted since the 90s, or early 2000s. But in the early days, I did. But now. And so now she's bidding on these big fucking things. And medical billing is a pain in the ass for doctors, dentists, chiropractors. And medical billing is linked with insurance. Because part of it is insured, part of it's not. And apparently coding, and I don't know enough about computers to know why, but apparently coding gets all fucked up. To me, 1, 8, 7, 6, it's not that easy. And then you put it in the computer, it's not that easy. But to me, So the coding of this, and there have been new programs that have come out, I'm told, I don't know this for a fact, I'm told, that make coding easier in a software program, applications, et cetera, et cetera. And she's written that, and then she got on Shark Tank with her deal. And I don't know if Cuban or whoever put money in it, but somebody did. And I don't know if she has, well, I do know I'm not talking about dating relationship, but she has other relationships with a couple of the guys on Shark Tank. And they all fit under her armpit because she's tall, which I find cute when I see the picture. And now, part of that $23 billion contract over 10 years is a big fucking deal. And, because, I told you, just looking at the G650, which is about $85 million. Not fitted out. With the avionics and shit, the proper, so you can fly to kind of on the edge of space. All from government contracts.
Okay. Other than black, does she have veteran?
No. On her board, yeah.
On her board.
She's
On her board?
She's a veteran of being beaten by her husband and a few other things, but she's not that kind of
But
veteran.
no ownership given to anyone? That
No.
Specifically.
She has 67% of the company, 33, is that right? 33% of the company is owned by the board. $23 billion over 10 years. That's better than a poke in the eye. That may be almost as good as living around the corner from Biden. That may be almost as good as living around the corner from the president. Okay, I want to answer your question. Now, if I understand your question correctly, and I'm pretty sure I do, from the chairman, from the womb to the tomb being your first deal, is that correct? I can do it in 10 minutes. Okay. Well, I don't have to beat to death. It's the most important person. But it's transcended by doing whatever the hardest thing is. But, okay, so now let's just say that we're going to do a government contract, since we spent a lot of time on this. In fact, this is the most time I've spent a government contract since, I think, ever in a seminar. Okay. We want somebody to be the chairman that has been involved in government contracts at the highest level. That person will normally be a military person. It may be, in a cabinet, the head of commerce or something like that, but normally that's going to be a senior military officer. Okay. And every year, about 2,000 senior, in America, I can't speak for anybody else, they release about 2,000 senior military officers, and those are normally generals, 1-star to 4-star generals. And their pensions aren't big enough for them to retire on. So LinkedIn, you're after the generals, and remember, and the magic subject is free founders equity. And then you can have a bunch of examples for that within your gig. Okay. So now you get the chairman, and you're going to send it. You want his phone number, not his email address in LinkedIn. You want his email address outside and a phone number, a contact number. Okay. Yes, you're going to send him an executive summary. And remember, the words out of his mouth are, yes, I'm very interested, I'm very impressed with the scope of your mission statement and the executive summary. If I can add value, subject to conflicts, I'm very interested. Those are the magic words. Not that how much money, how much this. He's not going to ask you how many shares, nothing like that. Okay. So then you want to, this is at a face-to-face meeting. And you go a day before. You don't do it on Zoom, you do it in person. If you got to take a fucking bus there, take a fucking bus there, like I used to. I should have cut a deal with Greyhound Bus, too, back in the day. Okay, so now you got your chairman. You do the same for the CEO, because I'm assuming that most of you in this room should not be your CEO. You're going to do the same thing, and you're going to use the same modus operandi, free founders equity, and this time when you send the executive summary, it's going to have the chairman's profile and his picture. And you ask him, remember, is this picture okay? General so-and-so, is this profile? And a lot of guys like me, I have another profile that I send, not the one in LinkedIn, okay? And so you've sent this, and the CEO should be, as they say in this country, gobsmacked. He should be overwhelmed, like Ben Carson. You don't have, in government contracts, you don't have to explain about this guy because he is government contracts, okay? But you go see him, and when they ask you, who else have you talked to the chairman and the CEO, with their hand on your heart, well, you're the first person I've approached, sir, okay? That's good. Don't lie to them. Now, some of the kids, if the chairman says no to being a chairman, they morph a little over and they say, well, would you be interested in a directorship? I don't do that. Some of the kids do it, but I don't do it, okay? You're after him for chairman, that's it. If he doesn't want to be chairman, then next guy or gal you look for to be chairman, or chairperson, as they say now. So now you got a CEO, you've met, and you do due diligence on him, you read as much as you possibly can in Google. So when you go there, if he's meeting you at his office, that's good, okay? If he's meeting you at his club, that's good. You will not pay, and it's probably he's going to buy a drink for you, or lunch, breakfast, whatever, okay? And so now the same thing, if I can add value, subject to conflicts, same words. And you do the same thing for the CFO. Now, the CEO and or the chairman may say, oh, I can help you build your board. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, General. But no, this is really important for the basis of, my strategic planning, that it be my board and my board alone and not your board. You say it however you want, but that's the point. It's going to be your board, yes.